Well, round one worked really well. There was no chaos. Scores were great. Everyone was happy. Big smiles. And this last little week has been pretty tough. We had a couple of outs sort of after games with Hosking, coming out with that one. Lucas, same thing at train the other day with Hubner, Duffy. There's rumours, I'm unsure yet, on guys like Fletcher Sharp. Apparently he's on baby watch. Apparently Garrick's on baby watch. When we say baby watch, guys, their partners are likely to have a child in the next day or 2 or 3, something like that. So yeah, just wait out for any of that information. Then we have Cleary last night go down injured, and I thought it was shoulder, to be fair. He was a little bit rattled. So I thought maybe concussion, and then the shoulder as well. Looked like the shoulder was like hanging out here, but it seems like it was more because he was not well. He did not look good at all walking off, and he's out scoring a 5 and is out for next week. So the majority of us are in the same boat. Some didn't captain him, some did captain him, and that's super frustrating both ways, to be honest, because we have him out next week, and it is Knights week, which means that we probably have a couple of Knights out, at least one now, if you are selling Lucas, and it might change your trades as well. If you're thinking of holding Lucas, you may move him now just because it's really hard to get 17 on the park. Coming into next week right now, I already have 3 out with Cleary. Sorry, I already have 4 out with Duffy, Hubner, Cleary, and then Callum Ponga after trading Dylan Lucas. So there's 4 out already before trades, which means we've got no room to move, and can sometimes mean we have issues with cover and different things like that as well. So this was a tough game. Why does it always seem to be the better matches end up in injuries and different things like that? We lost Walshy and lost Suoli'i in the first Origin. It's like, that's so frustrating. Just deflates things. And same in the early part of this game, losing Cleary. Thank goodness that the Panthers really put up a fight and did a great job. But unfortunately, against a team like the Storm, it's not going to work out. Against other teams, I think they could have won there because they actually played pretty decent for the most part. And that would have been good enough to beat a lot of teams. But the Storm, they find a way, and they have the firepower to get through this defense at times. So congrats to Storm for the 30-24 victory. And fantasy scores were not high in this game at all. And you can see that by only 3 scores above 50. And that was a 63 to To'o, a 61 to Alamotti, both with doubles. Alamotti with a three line breaks there. And he was incredible. He was pretty close to the best player on the park outside of Isaiah Yeo. He was absolutely spectacular in not just his fantasy score, like that was solid. We are buying, the frustrating thing with Isaiah and his fantasy score is that we bought him at a 64.5 price point. So him going 60 is actually a loss, but it's much better than 30. And he looked great. And also when we're looking at these scores, very, very low in this game. And you'll have other games where there's, 7, 8, 9, 10 players that go 50 plus. And that was not this one, with Lindsay Smith being the next best at 49. So take all that with a grain of salt. There was actually a decent amount of your completion rate. Penrith had 88. I think Storm were about the 76 or 77 or something like that mark. And yeah, so you look at that, and that's not too bad. There are a lot of 6 agains, a bunch of penalties, fair few points, 30-24. So yeah, seemed like the tries were just situated between a couple of guys, and there's a bunch of missed tackles. Just a weird one. Hey, sometimes the ball's just in play that little bit more. I think it was in play about 50-ish minutes, which is fairly normal for most games. Just tackle numbers was extremely low. You look at Yeo, he was at 42. Harry Grant was at 45. And there's a couple of guys in the early 30s and late 20s. Martin, Kamikamitha, Mitch Kenny had 38, where sometimes he can be 50, 55, 60. 28 for Blore, 28 for Sorensen, 27 for Liero in 58 minutes. So very, very low. And it looks like it was spread across the board. If you're looking at Munster, he had 24, but you had Jack Howarth next to him who had 6 and held his line, held his width well. And they didn't attack out that side too much unless they went around him with Alamotti out there. So it's a bit of a strange one for tackles and for points in general. So To'o is 63, incredible. Average 42 so far, so a slow start, but that'll get him rolling after that 32k drop. We won't get him, unfortunately, too close to that 550 mark. Alamotti was 61. I just thought he was great. I had him in my wing fullback rankings for the week in the private group, and he was sort of mid-tier. I thought he was a sneaky guy, but at 525 was a bit of an awkward one. You could have gone up to, if you spend that extra 100, 150, you're looking at, Tedesco, and then, 190k up, it's guys like Campbell, and you'd definitely rather select them. And then if you went right down, it was like Nwangani Tawaze and these types of guys. But that dual position in a really good team for a guy that I think is improving, that was where, it kind of would have worked out for you. And 3.5% owned is great. And he looks like their best outside back at the moment with Brian To'o. One of those runs that To'o had was absolutely spectacular. So he's the emerging guy. Tungo is kind of hanging steady where he is. Casey McLean had the odd good moment as well. Missed 5 tackles though, and ended up playing a fair bit in the centres, which is why he had the 16 tackles. And then you've got who else they have? Oh, to be fair, how good was Jenkins at the back? That was very impressive. And then Blaze Talangi coming into 6, and he scored a 35 as well. But Isaiah Yeo, 60 for him. He offloaded. Yay. He's such a good ball player, man. Like, he literally was their third half out there. He controlled a lot of this. He ran to the line and then would sweep out back. He would pass that back and just drew in attention because we know he's such a good runner of the footy. And in this case, they were trying to chase some points. So he was getting right into the line and then trying to feed it out back. And for the most part, especially in that last 20 minutes, he didn't run the footy very much at all, which was frustrating as a fantasy owner. But his impact on that team, he would run right to the line. They'd think he was going to run. He'd pass it out back and they'd make 30 metres down the sideline. He helped in a couple of their tries. That last second pass, catch and pass type of stuff was really, really impressive. And he's such an important cog, as we all know, in footy and in this Panthers side, definitely. So 60 for him. It's better than 30. He looked much better. He didn't have any tackle breaks. Still ran for good metres, with some of them counting as metres when he runs to the line. If he goes a bit short, rather than a deeper pass back to where he would have caught the ball, then they do give him a few metres and a run for that. 42 tackles, no misses. Great work on that one. With Lindsay Smith, 49 in 56 minutes. He was looking pretty good, 36 and 34, I think, so slowed down a little bit. A guy that's been good, hasn't had the big score since round 1, so there's two under 50s now since then, so probably not a guy to target. Eli Katoa was looking really good and then slowed down in the second half with his 47 with a try. Great hands, great kicking. Munster's kicking last night was spectacular. Helped them win this game. Didn't help his fantasy score, having 3 try assists for a 32. It's just wild. But Eli Katoa there, a good score with his 47. In a game that was really low. Like, he had 31 tackles for 3 misses, 109 metres. Like, you just need to get those base stats up a bit more. He is priced over 50. He will have games where he has 47, and he will have games where he's in the 60s like we saw in round 1. So keep an eye out on Ellie. If you do own, it's fine. It's not the end of the world at all. We've seen him go much lower. And if you don't own, then watch out for players like him, players like Howarth, players like Munster, players like Grant, because they do come up against some more medium opponents. And they've had the worst team in the comp outside of Cowboys, them and Cowboys and the Eels, and then they've had the best team in the comp with the Panthers. So scores for this team here, it's going to be all over the shop because it's hard to score points against Panthers, and then you have the blowout type of scores against the Eels. Casey got 45 with 2 try assists and a try, so good work there. Isaac Tungo, 42 for him. Just a solid one. If you do own, he's priced well under that now, and he'll start to make a little bit of cash after stabilizing this BE with a 42, but not someone you want to look to target very quickly. Harry Grant, 40 in 80 minutes, and this is just such a tough one for owners, and I do feel for you guys because I bought him last year at about 780k to begin the season, and he went 40 odd with Robson doing really well, scoring tries and setting him up and hitting mid-50s and dominating, and with the buy in there, wedged in there as well. It's been a really frustrating one. As I said, with the blowout in the first game and then a game against the Panthers, which can be really tough. He does love a missed tackle. He does dive at legs. He works hard that way, which can be good for the team and trying to be helpful in that, in that way. But 6 run meters, still had a tackle break and an offload with the 6 run meters. A turnover tackle as well at the end, which saved him. He was on about 34, 35 there. So that 40 is pretty gross. And some people, I think, will try and sell him. I do understand that, but remember, we do have Cleary out next week, which is frustrating. And you may have other fires to put out across the week. So just be aware of that with Grant. It is back-to-back 40s, and he's going to get cheaper. He's going to be under 700k. I think you have to hope for a bounce back. Do you go for Isaiah Yo's getting cheaper? Do you try to go to him? Do you go to Watson? These are all things I do understand, but he's not going to average 40 for the season as well. So by the time he drops in price this week with that 40, he's going to be down closer to the 50 mark. He'll be like a 51 type of price point, somewhere there. And with that, you should expect Grant to be in the 50s longer term. So now that he's cheaper, do you sell him knowing where he's priced at? That's the question. Oh, it's good to see Papenhuyzen back. But firstly, Liam Henry, 39 and 32. What a PPM. What a man. But Pap, 36. He's got the goal-kicking tee back, and that brought back some nostalgia of owning him and him averaging in the 50s and 60 at some points with the flowing locks. Scored a try, got a try assist, had 2 goals, and still 36. That's the worry with Pap. There are errors in his game. We know that. It's can be similar to Walsh sometimes without the extra flashiness and the extra errors. But he did have the penalty and 4 errors for -10. Run meters can be low at times. This was against Panthers though, and he can still get involved in the attack. So that was good. Be aware that, yes, their draw gets a little bit easier, but be aware that he, at the moment, is still not that regular 50s guy. It'll happen against lesser teams, and we saw that in there against the Eels with him with goal kicking with Nick Meaney with the fractured jaw. It does make him more appealing. He's still priced at with this 36, he'll go up a little bit more. He's going to be priced in the or close to the mid 40s, which means that you're probably buying him needing a 50 on a regular basis from him, and for him to get all these attacking stats and just a 36 can leave you a little bit worried. But I understand if you're targeting him. He might be more of a target in Supercoach just because he gets the goals now as well, but we'll see. Jack Cole, 36. Hopefully he's okay. He did kind of waddle off there at the back end of that game, which wasn't great, but 36 for him with the 24 tackles, 4 misses, 3 errors, kicked for 318, ran for 101, got 2 tackle breaks, got a line break assist. So that was solid. He'll make some more money now, which is nice, and he should be there likely with Brad Schneider next week. Jack Cole, Brad Schneider, Talangi off the bench, most likely, and then shout out to Blaze for getting out there and doing some good work. But Cole, hopefully, is all good, and we keep him for next week. Do you take the 36 over Mamazelis and these types of guys? Probably not. Pete got 59 last week, and he probably won't do it again, but there's that type of upside. You've got some upside with some of the other players that can go 40 plus, 50 plus. So if it's someone you're not really confident on at all, like a Yongi or something like that, then maybe. But those middle forwards and hookers and stuff that can get you 40 plus just in tackles, that you could probably play them above Cole, unless we get any further updates. But Stefano with 35, only 40 minutes again in this one, so they're really using him for lower minutes. He battering rammed, who was it, Kenny and Jack Cole, I think, once or twice each. So that was pretty full on. Someone I think you do need to sell though, because those minutes are absolutely disgusting. That's about all we need to say on him. Blaze Talangi, 35 in 73 minutes. I thought he looked pretty good. Defensively was great, 21 for 1 miss. Had the couple of offloads. Don't know what happened in that last play. That was wild. They needed to try to win, and he kind of just gave up with a second to go. Not sure about that. Yeah, leave him there. He's probably going to be on the bench. Sean Bloor, 34, 80 minutes. He's playing 80 minutes now, which he wasn't last year, but these scores are pretty gross. He still hardly gets the footy, 69 run meters, had 2 offloads there, 1 to ground, 1 to hand, and tackle numbers for him don't seem to be super high. Don't rate him as an option. Munster, 32, 3 try assists, 24 tackles, 5 misses, 2 penalties, and an error. Some arguing about the penalty. Fair enough, you do see that a lot, but I think it was the little fight that it created, I think, which gave him the penalty, because you do see a lot of the pushing on the ground or the shove. It is footy. But yeah, that was a weird one. 127 run meters, a little bit low. Hughes is only 255, so it was that type of game. 80 run meters, pretty gross. If you got Munster, you're holding on tight. He's going to have lower games and he's going to have really big games as well. So you stick steady. You don't look to buy him yet, in my opinion, but you can look at him over the next few weeks. And then Hughes is 31, down 20k last week. He's going to continue to go down for a little bit longer. So great news for anyone who doesn't own. I don't think many, 7.2%. A lot of people bought him because he was good last year. And Munster's 13.5. Grant's pretty high as well. So if you had a bunch of Storm players, it wasn't a great game for you. You should bounce back with your other players this week and make sure that you don't get too down on it, because it definitely happens. I had Isaiah Yeo get 30 last week, priced at 65. 66 or what it might have went up to after last week. But Jack Howarth, I didn't end up buying him. Just to give you a little insight into my trades, I didn't go with that first option. But Jack Howarth, 26, he looked really good running the footy. He actually ran the most meters for Storm, 150, had 3 tackle breaks. They contained him pretty well, and every time he got the ball, I thought he looked pretty dangerous. You know, sometimes he ran crossfield as well, which is where he can get the tackle breaks and the offloads. Didn't happen in this game. Tackles were low. They didn't really run at him much, but he's good in defense. 6 tackles, no misses. That number needs to increase a little bit, which it hasn't over the last few weeks so far, but the run meters are usually up pretty high, 150 plus. So that was good. He should be better next week. And as it gets a little bit easier for them to go up against teams. And then Jenkins 25, we've got Papali'i at 21, so keep an eye out on his minutes, and if there's ever an injury in the outside backs, he's going to be the guy. But 23 minutes is so low. Great PPM, good runner of the footy. Meany with 22, you'll have to sell with a fractured jaw. Nelson, 22 minutes, 5 points, and hurt his teammates again and had 3 errors. So I don't know if he's going to make it back into this side next week, but they decided to use him for a fair bit of punch against the Panthers. Make sure you do subscribe and follow along on the podcast, guys. Really appreciate that, and thanks so much for being here for our review on Thursday night. And then Nathan Cleary, 5 in 7 minutes. 27 minutes would have been wild. 97 kick meters, 2 tackles. Looked great in that first little stanza, and it looked like he was in for a good game. And that's the frustrating thing. Will you sell him? Some people will, for sure, because he'll miss next week as well after the low score and then have to low break even. He's still the best player that's played this game for the last 10 years outside of Cameron Smith and these guys. So it's hard to sell someone like that, but he's absolutely cooked us over the last 3 years to begin the year, 23, 24, and 25. Got injured last year. The year before that, just had a slow start and then picked it up. And then this year with this injury and the low score and then missing next week. It's been a time, if you can avoid Cleary to start the year over the last 3 years, then you've done great. It's very, very hard to do that when he has such an upside. That's 3 years in a row now, and it's very frustrating. So we'll have to see where they finish. If they win the comp next year, then we probably just don't start with him. If they don't win the comp, he might come out with a bit more to prove in the first few weeks, but it's just not happening at the moment. The team takes a little bit of a transition phase, and it's a little bit slow for him. So frustrating. We'll see. We'll talk about him through the week anyway. But thanks for coming in for this chat here to go through our Thursday night game. We'll catch you in the next one, guys. Have a good